So hello everyone. I guess this is my cue. When you get to the PowerPoint, that's your cue. Okay, that's my turn. How are you doing?
Good.
Good, excellent. I just want to know who among you guys attended the session by Valerie Creighton this morning on the national. Okay. And who among you was here when Stéphane Cardin presented CMS funding programs? Okay, most of you too. Excellent. Which means if I run a quiz, you can all hit like 100% good answers about the Canada Media Fund, right? Okay. Who knows about the Industry and Market Trends Department at the Canada Media Fund and what we do? Great, so you're at the right place. Let's jump into it. Indeed, most of people know, this is actually the mandate of the CMF. So most of people know about our primary mission, which is funding and supporting the creation, of course, of all sorts of content from television shows, entertainment and edutainment applications and websites, even software and enabling technologies. And it's totally okay that people actually focus on that because that is our primary mission. But the reality is broader than that. So indeed, what Valerie Creighton, our CEO, is presenting this morning is everything that is related also to our mandate in promoting Canadian content, not only here in Canada, but also abroad, and more specifically and more especially when we are right now in a global digital market. And that yellow circle is the one that people know a little less about. And this is the role of fostering and developing the industry. And this is where the Industry and Market Trends Department steps in. I don't know if you had the time to see that on the first slide, but so I should have started there. My name is Catalina Braseno, and I am the director of that department at the CMF. So what do we do there, and what's the role of the IMT department is actually to collect, analyze, and to disseminate back to the industry industry intelligence, information, updated information, and meaningful information as well on recent market developments, different trends, and the different phenomena that are shaping the screen-based industry in general. So, of course, this is very useful for decision makers and policymakers to be sure that the programs that are designed, by the CMF remain relevant to the industry development. But we're also very careful about sharing that knowledge. And so we disseminate back all of that industry intelligence to the industry in order to build that kind of collective knowledge. So we all, be part of this thing and remain quite competitive and keep the leadership of Canada in terms of excellence. So the idea is, and now I have to. You can change the slide because I have a mic, I could have taken a clicker and everything. So how do we do that? How do we actually communicate and disseminate back that information back to the industry? Well, first and foremost, our Trendscape blog, which is really a place where stakeholders can read in-depth analysis of the television and digital industry that enables them to better understand the constantly changing world of media and digital technology. It is also an information curator in order to kind of filter a little bit the news and that kind of overall noise that is out there, due to the overabundance of data and information. So we try really to focus on the operational and business realities of our stakeholders and then work and serve as a catalyst in bringing topics that are meaningful to their realities. So to bring the best on Trendscape, CMF has recruited a team of outstanding contributors in Canada and abroad. So our team of bloggers are not only Canadians, bringing also like an international perspective. And they're appointed in what we call the Watch Squad. All the contributors are managed by one desk editor at the IMT department, and they're selected, of course, based on their expertise, experience, and their position of influence in the television and digital media sectors. Now, Trendscape, of course, you can access that through our website, so I invite you to go and discover it. It also has the French counterpart. 100% is bilingual, so everything that is published on Trendscape is done in both languages. Now we're going to move to the other section, very important, of the industry intelligence section of the website, and that is the research section. So in addition of having that blog, the CMF also either initiate research projects or do that in partnership with renowned and established researchers and research consultancy firms throughout the country on a variety of topics. And so this is, the presentation today is really about taking you through the different formats and the different types of publication you can find in there. And for each of those categories or formats, I'm going to give you an example, highlighting a specific study within those sections, so you can actually get a good idea, you know, of the type of data and findings that you can find in there. So let's move to the first type of publications you will find in there. Those are the industry directories. So of course those are aimed to be exhaustive and more extensive kind of guides or list of resources for content producers. We have some of them, you know, on a variety of topics, such as the ABC of Connected Television, which is really about kind of making an inventory of everything that is available in both in terms of technology and also vendors throughout the world in the connected television field. But also, and the one I want to talk to you about, is the documentary additional funding guide, which actually was released last fall, I think, but it was in French only since it was a co-production or a collaboration with Europe. But it became so popular that actually with the Documentary Network, which is the publisher of this study, we decided to update it and actually also translate it in English so we can increase the reach for this publication. So we're going to move to it. So the Documentary Additional Funding Guide is an extensive repertory. How do you pronounce that term? Repertory? Repertory.
Repository?
Repertory. I like it. Repertoire. Repertoire.
Repository.
Thank you for my English classes as we're doing all this together here. Okay, enabling Canadian and European producers and filmmakers to identify the different resources available for their production or co-production projects. This is why I have my notes, because I don't want to forget everything that is available there. So listen to this. Private funds dedicated to audiovisual content, including broadcaster funds, awards, grants, financial guidance, and calls for project by festivals, independent production co-ops, provincial art council, crowdfunding platforms, help with distribution, marketing, and audience development. All of those are actually, and it's an extensive inventory of what is available in the US, like hedge funds, and also in France and Europe and several other countries. You can actually move to the next slide, please. So this international repertory, published by the Documentary Network, was made possible so thanks to the partnership of CMF, National Film Board, Montreal Art Council, and Media Europe. And as I was mentioning, all of those countries are actually covered within the guide. We got to move to the next category. So this is where you're going to find in white papers and studies, you know, more lengthy, in-depth analysis on different different topics in the sector. So the studies usually are like, for instance, we have new directions for the financing of interactive digital media in Canada, or Are the Kids Alright, which was a national study on television viewing habits in Canadian families with kids between 9 and 12. And those are usually conducted, you know, in collaboration, for instance, in this case, with the Youth Media Study Department of the University of Montreal. So those are really like big projects that usually take like a year or more to conduct. So those are like extensive researches. But we also wanted to develop a format that was shorter, that we could update it more regularly and follow more current trends. And so that is what we call white papers. And usually what we do is we create a series under the same kind of theme. So this is an example of that is the second screen and television series. So the reason we decided, we can move to the next.
Again? Okay.
Again. So there's 3 titles in here, and the reason we actually decided to, hello, how are you? Peter Lyman from Nordicity, our partners in research. So over the past decade, producers have wondered what would be the most effective approaches actually to marrying television and the web. So that's why we decided to work on this project with a Montreal-based company called Evolu Media to better understand the popularity, but also, you know, the opportunities that second screen and social TV could bring to television producers and creators. So the three titles together actually form a complete body of information on the current situation and the opportunities that second screen usage provide. And I think it is something that, it's also a series that is very popular on our website, obviously because, I don't know if you read, but for instance at the last Consumer Electronics Show back in January, you know, there was some economic analysis coming out on the second screen and social TV sector, saying that for the moment, you know, that segment of market is estimated to around $490 million, but it is expected to grow up to $5.9 billion by 2017. So it is a serious marketplace that we should look at it right now. So that's the reasons why, you know, the INT department conduct all of these research and studies. So very soon we will be announcing the third title, Production Optimization, which is very interesting. And the interesting thing about these three white papers as well is it's very short in format, but also there are plenty of real life examples. And that we believe is super important to our producers and stakeholders as well, is to actually have, like, you know, a real view of a practical approach to research. So we're going to move to the next category. And of course, those are the economic profiles. So those, as the terms say it, you know, are usually really about examining from an economic perspective and economic impact certain activities, both in the television and the digital media industry. And this is where I'm very happy to be here, because only 2 days ago we released this report, the Aboriginal Screen-Based Production Sector in Review, and that was supported by the Aboriginal People's Television Network, the Canada Media Fund, the National Film Board of Canada, the Bell Broadcast and New Media Fund, Telefilm, the Canada Council for the Arts, and the National Screen Institute, which gives you also the magnitude, you know, of some of these research partnerships. And I would like to point out and welcome two representatives of APTN. So Monica Ile, hello, who's Director of Programming at APTN, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Well, don't know about
we were just introduced.
Jean-François Vansarin, Manager Programming, Eastern Canada.
Thank you, Jean-François, and I apologize for that. So they're here if you have any questions about that specific, hello Erica, if you have any specific questions about what's going on right now in the screen-based industry, Aboriginal screen-based industry, they can answer your questions. But for the moment, let me tell you about this research that, and you can move to the next slide, please, Pierre. The report was prepared by Maria De Rosa and Marilyn Burgess. It examines the state of Aboriginal television, interactive and feature film production in Canada, and it measures the production activity over the 5-year period from 2007 to 2012. And in that period, that sector has created more than 3,000 full-time jobs and generating almost $173 million in production activity. So this, the study, the goal for this study was to present a profile of this sector that would be describing the milestones that have marked its evolution, to document as well its unique characteristics, and identifying more than anything the priorities for future growth. And this is where this is a very important study, because it actually outlines, and you can find those very well detailed even in the executive summary, 8 recommendations you know, that are detailed in the study and that are summarized only in this slide. But it was particularly timely to conduct such a study in the Aboriginal sector, because the last economic study, you know, of this sector was actually commissioned back in 2004. So there was this huge gap in terms of data and in terms of information on this sector. And of course, needless to say, so many things have changed in that time, you know, including the inception of the Canada Media Fund and the several programs that are directed in supporting the Aboriginal production that were presented by Stefan earlier. So we're going to move to the last category, which is fairly new, and that I'm very proud of it, because this is actually in a in a willingness or desire to actually build something, a more sustainable approach to research, because as you know, we're in a very fast-paced environment right now. Everything is changing all the time, so it becomes quite frustrating to actually spend so much money and time on very extensive researches that actually after a year or two become completely obsolete. So this is where we actually decided to look at what we were doing and identify those topics or things that we believe were very, very, either appealing to our stakeholders or very changing, and actually transform some of those into online resources. So this is a way for us to provide you with continuous updates on those different topics. As we speak right now, the CMF is involved in 3 online resources. One is called innovating, which is like a curated technology space where television creators and broadcasters can come and take a look at what are the new technologies that are available that could actually help you build more integrated user experiences. The other one is called the TMC Resource Kit and is available at tmcresourcekit.com. And that one is very interesting because it's really based, it's a collaboration with Screen Australia, and it's based on a how-to guide for producers. It's really aimed for producers and creators, and it's based on a Bible and really like the best practices in order to develop, produce, and market your transmedia and cross-media projects. And it's mainly based on case studies, so you have a plethora of great case studies from all around the world. And finally, and this is the one we've just launched and we're very proud of, is the crowdfunding in a Canadian context. Let me tell you about that study, first of all, that it was actually launched in last August, and this, and at that moment we worked already with Nordicity as a research partner for that. And that study became so popular and so in demand, I've been asked to go for conferences. And obviously, it's really because, and we're going to move to the next slide, please. It's obviously because, crowdfunding is the buzzword of the year. And it has been doubling in terms of volume of crowdfunding that is, collected around the world. We'll see some stats in a minute. But the idea was to provide an online resource that would enable Canadian creators to understand crowdfunding, first of all, from a Canadian perspective, meaning what it means here in Canada, within our legislative, financing ecosystem, and so on, and also from a creative industry perspective, because we talk a lot about crowdfunding and equity crowdfunding, for instance, and although we provide information about that, regulatory updates and so on, and legislative updates, of course, us in the creative industry are more interested in like project-based financing and crowdfunding. So, what you will find on that website is actually replicating, you can move to the next slide, is actually replicating what was found in the initial study. And so this website was developed in collaboration in association with Nordicity. So there's still our Peter Lyman is here, hello Peter. And so they've been great partners on this, and we have created a whole update schedule. So this is going to be continuously updated throughout the year with new content, new case studies, new stats, and new updates in terms of regulatory and legislative things. So you will have overviews on the different crowdfunding models. You will have plenty of stats and facts from here in Canada, but also from elsewhere in the world. So as you can see, this phenomenon is just not stopping. It has been increasing year after year. We're at almost $5 billion of crowdfunding money collected globally for 2013. And you also have all the crowdfunding platforms that are available around the world, but more specifically for Canada. So we're going to move to the next slide. So I just had my timing little thing, so I'm just going to run into the next and final slide to tell you that this crowdfunding microsite also have a very interesting and very, how do you say that, detailed searchable engine for a repertory of crowdfunding platforms that are available to Canadians. And here, let me be clear, these platforms are available to Canadian producers and creative projects, like legally speaking. Because everybody asks us why Kickstarter is not there. Well, actually, if you read Kickstarter rules, you're supposed to be an American citizen with an American account, and actually it's not legally available to Canadian producers. Kickstarter is not in this repertory. So that is the little disclaimer, but the thing is that still it has more than 45 platforms that are in this repertory for now, and it's growing, of course. So it's interesting because you can search it, you know, based on the location you're in, or the type of projects you have, or the focus or the funding model, whether you're looking for donation or reward-based or investment and so on. So it's really like very interestingly developed, so you can search very specifically what is available here in Canada. And we're going to go to the last slide. It is a slide. That's it. I don't have my... I do so much of these presentations. These PowerPoint presentations always change. So I have nothing to promote other than invite you to go into the research section, industry intelligence section of the website, and visit and go and discover everything we have available for you guys. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Would you have any questions or remarks or comments? Okay, are you all staying for the next presentation?
Yeah.
Yes? No, Sophie's not staying. Look at her, she's leaving the room. We love you, Sophie. No worries. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little minute just to set up the next presentation. For your information, now it's a project showcase. So we're going to move into looking at... Hello, Victoria, how are you? So I love this room. I can see you all. I can talk to you guys. That's great. So we're going to move into a project showcase that is actually featuring convergent projects that have found very innovative ways to engage the audience as users. So I'm just going to set up and be sure we're ready for that presentation because it has a lot of video and everything. And let the time to some of you who wants to go out and those who wants to join the presentation to come in. Okay?